If you are serious about watches, Chopard should be a manufacturer on your radar. It is family owned and independent. And this watch from the LUC collection, the higher end collection of Chopard, the Time Traveler 1, is definitely my favorite Worldtimer on the market. Let's discover it.
It's just the... Why did he do that?
Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. For the past few years we have seen a flurry of GMT watches from almost every brand on the back of the success of the Rolex GMT Master 2 Pepsi with the ceramic bezel. The only problem with the GMT watches is that you actually need to know what time it is at your time zone of interest, at your destination, and who knows how to use that rotating bezel efficiently. And in the end, once you have set your GMT hand, it's a pretty static type of display. What I want really is the watch to do the maths for me. What I want is a Worldtimer. Now let's play a little game. If I challenge you to find a very legible Worldtimer in a steel case, not too thick, say 12mm tops, with a date, with the indication of daylight savings wherever available, with a bit of lume, with a manufacturer caliber, with beautiful finish, and a COSC certification, and why not a reasonable power reserve of at least 60 hours. How many watches come to mind? Indeed, very, very few. And this is why, as soon as I discovered this watch, which came out in 2016 to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the manufacturer, Chopard, I immediately fell in love, especially with the steel version with those cool dashes of orange on the dial, and that steel case which is inviting travel. As you can see, this one here has traveled quite a bit. I bought it second-hand, pre-owned from a watch collector. Now the other specs of this watch: 42mm case, which is what you need to have the different cities around the world remaining legible, especially as you're getting old. 12mm, as you had understood. Beautiful finishing here on the side of the case. Nice bevels, nice brushed finish. You have already seen part of the movement, which has, of course, Côte de Genève finish, circular graining on the main plate, and I really love the chamfered edges on the bridges here. You also see some black polish on some parts of this beautiful movement, adjusted in 5 positions in heat and cold, and adjusted for isochronism. Chopard, a manufacturer that doesn't produce many watches, really know how to put together a movement. A bit of history. Chopard was founded in 1860 and is a famous jeweler, of course. But in 96, the watch manufacturer was set up in Fleurier. Today they make watches in Fleurier and Geneva. And the first order of the day back then was to create a fantastic automatic caliber. And it's the caliber 1.96, which has since then obtained a legendary status. It is a micro rotor with 2 barrels, I believe 70 hours of power reserve, was certified as well. And it was first found in the 1860. The first series is very sought after, but if you can't quite afford the 196, check out the watches bearing the 396, which doesn't have the Geneva seal, and maybe has a less beautiful finish, but you still have the beautiful macro rotor and the same architecture. And you can find those watches at very interesting prices on the second-hand market. Since we're talking about prices, this one here, there were 3 versions, platinum, rose gold, and steel. The steel came at just under 13,000, which is great value for such a movement. And you can still find them brand new. There's not many about because they don't make many of these watches, but they still produce this very same model. You can find them maybe brand new around 10,000. And if you look around, maybe you can find from the pre-owned market great prices. I was looking at something between 50 and 60% of the original MSRP. And this is exactly where I found this one, 3 years old. So you can see it's been worn, quite a few scratches, but that's okay. It's a traveler's watch, and at least I won't be worried myself about putting any scratch into this this beautiful watch, and I will indeed travel with it. So let's take a look a bit more at the different textures and colors of the dial. I don't really need to describe to you much, but I will point out that the very cool font used for the cities, as well as the numerals and the Swiss mention, which is great. That is carried through the whole dial. As I mentioned, you have the indication of daylight savings, where whenever or wherever it is in effect. So at the moment, indeed, for the next 6 months, we'll be looking at the little red indication there. For example, in Geneva right now, it is not 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but 3 o'clock in the afternoon, while here in Hong Kong, it's nighttime and it's 9:30. You can also see that I'm in the time zone of Beijing. That's my only gripe with this watch. I wish it said Hong Kong, but times are changing. And yeah, the prominence of China and Beijing signifies that we don't have Hong Kong on the rotating bezel anymore, unfortunately. But you can also reference the time on here, 21:09 in the evening. I let you look around this beautiful dial. So the date is there, very discreet. It's a radial date instead of an ugly aperture, which is great. So it's there, but it's discreet. So if I zoom back, sometimes it really it kind of disappears. But it's great to have it without being obtrusive. And it's rare for Worldtimer to have the date. It's rare for Worldtimer to have a bit of lume. Also have the daylight savings indication, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Now, look-wise, it kind of has the look of those super compressor divers. I really like that. So it's a chance to also look at the cool design of the crowns with the L.U.C. here on this one. The watch comes on a beautiful, this one is unworn strap, crocodile strap. Look at the quality of this skin, absolutely gorgeous. And it's a simple buckle. Thank God I'm not a big fan of the deployants. So here you can stop the seconds. That's one thing. You can set your local time. Let's say there you go, and you see that the disc around is gonna turn, right? Let's say if it's a bit later in the evening. There you go, at 10 o'clock, and then I'll show you when the date changes. Boom, 30th. I don't think you can break the date system, but nevertheless, I prefer to go a bit further. So let's say it's 5 a.m. here in Beijing. You see 5 a.m. so still in the dark portion. The sun tends to come out at actually at 6:30 here in Hong Kong. If you want to change the date, you can do so, pulling to the first stop and going upwards like this. And then if you're in Beijing, everything else is set for you. So in Anchorage, it will be, because they have daylight savings, it will be 1 o'clock between Honolulu, which doesn't have daylight savings. It is 11 in the morning. This crown here, you pull it, and if you travel, say you go to Tokyo, Sydney, Numia, let's say you do travel to Honolulu, and you land, and it is 5 in the morning. Well, what time is it back home? It is 11 at night. What time is it in Moscow? Maybe there is a ice skating competition starting at the final, starting at 6 o'clock. Well, there you go. You're almost there. Or maybe it starts at 7 o'clock. There you go. You'll be there in about an hour. So this is how it works. It's quite simple, and it's a wonderful reference. And every day, every weekend, I need this. I need it at work. I need it for my leisure time, for programming my days. When do I have to be in front of the TV to see live events around the world? So there you go. That's a bit everything you need to know about the watch, about Chopard. Do check out the brand, check out the 196, the 396 caliber, check out also the Alpine Eagle, which is a strong design, just like the Royal Oak was. And I think in that segment of the integrated steel sports, it is the design that I like the most. And do yourself a favor, just put one on the wrist. They really wrap the wrist like the clothes of an eagle. And the new version that came out at Watches and Wonders 2023 with the salmon dial is just stunning. It has a caliber 196, if I'm not mistaken. It is ultra thin, really a beautiful one. There's also I think an 8 hertz version with a pitch black dial in titanium, if I am not mistaken. Really super exciting. And the 1860 collection comes back as well in steel. Is really an unbelievable year for the manufacture Chopard, which is independent, family owned, and it's really a pleasure to own a watch from such a great maison. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation, and let me know what you think about the Time Traveler 1. Bye bye, guys.